relationships. So you might stop dealing with a person based on some of these symptoms, or people might have stopped communicating with you based on these symptoms. You might have lost jobs, or the person might have lost a job because of some of these symptoms. Any issue can become a psychological problem that requires support if it impacts your daily life. Okay? If it impacts your daily life, if it interferes in your relationships, if it's hurting your money, if you're losing a job, if you can't drive, that's a huge problem. So please listen tonight. Tonight, I want you to please share the live because I understand there's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health. And I like to restate that to brain health problems. I understand that. My invitation is that we give it more light, we talk about it more so that these brain health problems become as common to us discussing as we discuss diabetes and hypertension. All right, let's get into it. Number one, number one sign that praying and uh, meditation and the bush tea are probably not going to be enough. It's called hyper religiosity. Hyper religiosity. What is hyper? Hyper means a lot of, right? Religious is religious. Hyper religiosity is a psychiatric condition, and it's characterized by an intense and overwhelming focus on religious beliefs or even atheistic beliefs or even new agey beliefs. Okay, it's religious in tone. It becomes a problem if it disrupts the person's daily life and their daily functioning. And those markers are if it interferes with your relationships, if people start telling you, why don't you just be quiet about this? You're talking about this too much. Yeah. If it interferes with your relationships, or you start losing people, or you start losing positions, money, you can't go to work because you are so focused on your religious ideas and your religious beliefs. So, this condition often involves abnormal and excessive preoccupation with religious content. And like I said, it becomes a problem when it interferes with your work, with your social interactions, if you lose your job, if you take it to the point where some people take it where they create items to harm other people because other people don't share their beliefs, if you assault people who don't believe what you believe in, if you go to verbally assaulting people who say they believe that abortion is a sin. Yes, some people can become highly focused on hurting people who believe that, vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. There have been wars fought on these kinds of hyper religious ideas. So there's an imbalance. Everybody's got, well, not everybody, most people have some level of faith or belief in a higher power. Most people. And there's some people who don't, right? But even those people who don't can become hyper focused on not having faith or belief in some higher power. It is an out of balance understanding of the role of religion in your life or the absence of it in your life. Again, look around you. Do you not see a strong link between hyper religiosity and very extreme behaviors? Yeah. Some of those including terrorism and uh, participation in cults, religious cults. Okay. So some of the research is actually showing there is religious involvement uh, in some psychological disorders like bipolar disorder, PTSD, some of the other psychotic disorders, delusional disorders. Okay, so even if for people who are categorized as minority, let's say brown people, yeah, people of color, tend to, according to the research, place a lot of uh, stock in their faith, in their spirituality. And that's actually a protective factor for them, meaning their faith and their belief in a higher power tends to keep them uh, well, tends to keep their mental health working well. Yeah, it protects them from things like depression and anxiety because they pray a lot. However, too much of anything can become problematic. Yeah, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. So the same religion or religious belief that might protect you from suicidal thinking might also go to the other side, and another person might use that to hurt people because they don't share their religious ideas. So, overall, studies are showing that religious involvement often serves as a powerful resource for most of us, for many of us, but sometimes it can complicate people's wellness and their recovery. For example, I have met many clients, many patients who will not take medication. They won't take medication because they might call it witchcraft. But because of the pressure from their mental health problems, their brain health problems, which is a biological problem, because of that pressure, they will use drugs, illicit drugs, drugs that they now get arrested for and pay a lot of money for and lose their jobs for. So, do you see how a religious idea, a hyper religious idea that medication is witchcraft, mm, could land you in even more trouble? Because for the most part, people are trying to medicate. We're trying to find ways to feel better. And if it's a brain issue, that's a body issue, it's a biological issue. So, for the most part, we tend to look for substances that change the direction. Yeah, change the way our brain works. And many people use alcohol, cannabis, meth, yeah, a lot of other drugs to try to feel better. But if that same person is saying, well, medication, standard medication is witchcraft, they're also leaving themselves open to continuing to suffer and perhaps going towards something that doesn't help. A lot of people might say, well, I will pray about it. God will heal me. This is not going to work for me. Medicine, no. But meanwhile, their symptoms, two big ones are manic behaviors, manic activation, and psychosis. They might make choices now based on those symptoms that land them in a lot of trouble. So there's a distortion in the way they're thinking about medication, perhaps, that leads them to do things while they're ill, while their brain is not working well, leads them into legal trouble, financial trouble, relationship trouble. And once anything leads you to that kind of trouble, we start classifying them as psychological disorders. So the second category, I'm going to call it a category because there are several types. The second sign that you're going to need medication more than likely, and that no amount of prayer and bush tea is going to ease what it is you're suffering. That second set of signs, they're called hallucinations. What are hallucinations? A hallucination is a false perception, a false reading on a stimulus, yeah, on something or someone that seems real, but it is not real. It seems real to one person, and when they check it with the people around them say, no, we're not seeing the stuff that you're telling us you're seeing. Sight, visual hallucinations is our first set. That's why I said it's a category. Yeah, where you might see a face, a person might see a face, or they might see an animal, they might see an object, they might see a shadow, they might see a pile of clothes and say, no, that's a cat right there on the floor. Hmm? Or they might just come up with something else, or at least we think they're coming up with it, but they're actually having these visual experiences that are problematic. It's problematic if you're telling me a pile of clothes on the floor is a cat, if 5 other people around you are telling you it's a pile of clothes. Okay? So, visual hallucinations is a clear sign that we need some medical and medication intervention. All right? Another kind of hallucination is sound based. So, it's auditory hallucinations. That's when people hear voices when nobody is speaking. They might hear somebody calling their name. There are many people who have what are called command hallucinations, where many people from the time they're little, they hear commands to do things. Often these things are not pleasant. Yeah, somebody told me today. Since elementary school, I've been hearing to hurt my mom, hurt my siblings, things like that, hurt myself. Okay? A person might hear a phone is ringing, or they might hear people talking about them. They might hear people talking about them. They might hear animals. Like somebody might say, I hear rats in the attic. I can hear the rats scraping and scratching the walls. Or they might hear painfully loud music and nobody else is hearing it. Okay? Nobody else is hearing it. Like I said, they might hear, you might hear people talking about you. Often they're not complimenting you. So people experiencing auditory hallucinations like that, usually it's not pleasant what they're hearing. Or it might be a high pitched noise or just some random noise. Another set of hallucinations, they pertain to smell, your sense of smell. They're called olfactory hallucinations. So people might smell their bodies rotting. They might smell rotten fish or rotten eggs or gasoline or excrement. Again, usually those things, what it is that they're experiencing are unpleasant. They're unpleasant. Okay, how about touch? They're tactile hallucinations. Some people call them somatic, yeah, but they're touch related, where the person might experience or feel the touch, something is touching them, yeah, or scratching them, or they might feel a movement in their body, or they might want to move their body in a particular way. Some people report things like feeling as if they're having their skin stretched over their heads. Yeah, or they're feeling ants or snakes crawling up their skin. That's called formication. So if you're from Dominica or Creole language, what's the word for ants? It's fourmi. Yeah, in French it's fourmi. Yeah. So formication is the thought, is the sensation, because people experience it as if it's happening, that bugs or snakes or ants are crawling under their skin or they're on their body. Okay, some people feel as if their internal organs are moving or that they're having a burning sensation or an itching sensation, except that there's no medical basis for it, there's no medical corroboration of it. Okay, another one is taste hallucinations. Some people taste something bitter or metallic on their tongue or in their throat. So if you're the one experiencing this, we want to move towards medical intervention, medical intervention, medical intervention. Okay, if it's your child, your spouse, somebody you care about, your friend, I don't want you, my advice would not be for you to just wait, it'll pass. Again, usually, let me say very often, symptoms like that, they escalate. They escalate before they get better. Okay? So we can intervene early enough and stop a lot of suffering. Yes or no? Because these experiences are very distressing. And many of us, we have relatives who have these experiences. Can you imagine in your body, you're feeling as if snakes are crawling on your skin? And your mom or your sister or your dad, they're telling you, no, there are no snakes. Meanwhile, you're horrified. Yeah, because you might be feeling it and you might actually be seeing it. Okay, so what do we do? Are we going to leave our person suffer because we were afraid of medication? Or we're going to take them to a professional who that's their work. That's their work. Okay? Now, the third sign, I gave a little hint earlier. The third sign or the third symptom that if you're experiencing it or somebody you love is experiencing it, you want to seek quickly some medical intervention. Because I promise you, as much as people are suffering, y'all, within a day, within 24 hours, most people are back to balance, are back to themselves when they get the correct medication. And how would you know that? If you decided, well, I'm just going to pray about it, I'm just going to wait, just let me wait, let me watch it still. Yeah, I'm giving you clear symptoms, clear examples of what to look for, that if you're experiencing it or somebody you know is experiencing it, you go to an emergency room. You find a doctor. Okay? So, number 3 is called manic activation or mania. Now, manic activation can happen by itself. Some people only experience mania, but some people experience both sides of the pole. Mania is high, intense, abnormally elevated arousal, abnormally elevated affect. Your affect is how you're looking. Yeah. So you see your person super excited, super energized, and just in your face, talking loudly. And you're like, why are you talking so loud to me? Or they're talking very fast. You're trying to interrupt. They won't let you interrupt. You're talking, they will interrupt you. They're moving very fast. I mean, walking very fast, pacing. Yeah, it's a heightened overall activation of the body. Okay, with some people experiencing what we call lability of affect and mood. Their mood is rapidly changing from high to low. They're laughing and crying crying. There's some people who suffer very intensely with manic activation. Yeah. And it's especially painful when you're experiencing bipolar activation, right? You have it, you have mania up top, you have depression below. So you have, imagine you're the person or your child is excited today. They're doing, I can do it, mom. I can go to college. And then tomorrow they don't want to get up in the bed. They can't get up in the bed. Yeah. And then tomorrow again, they're like, man, what's wrong with me? I got this. I can do it. And then tomorrow, the day after, you think they're being lazy. Okay. So, some other symptoms that show up with this is if you're trying to talk to them about the fact that, hey, maybe we need to go to the doctor, and they start telling you, man, get out of here. I'm fine. I'll just pray about it. I'm good. What are you talking about? A sense of invincibility, like they can do anything. If they start telling you, I'm the Son of God, I got this. Some of us as family members, because we grow up in a family of faith, sometimes it's hard for us to decipher when it's too much. We might just think that person is just a strong believer. But if you get the sense that it's too much, it's probably too much. If you have to ask yourself, that's a little too much. It's probably too much. Yeah. So people will say, well, I experience racing thoughts. It's like their thoughts are coming so fast. That's why many of them interrupt us because they're like, why are you taking so long to talk? I can see already what you're trying to say. I can read your mind. I know what you're going to say. Yeah. Rapid talking and false beliefs and false perceptions. Okay. So what's happening is the body is in a state of high arousal, almost like in a fight or flight state. Okay. And for many people, they end up not being able to sleep when they're that high and they're that manic in a state of mania. Some people will go for days without sleeping. I do mean days. The worst I've experienced was a lady who told me, well, I go for about 7 days and then I crash because the body cannot keep it up. Now, here's the thing many people who experience that kind of level of manic activation, they end up being able to do a lot of things because they're on a high. So they're cleaning, they're sweeping, they're working, they're producing, they're creating, they're writing music. But what happens if you cannot sleep and then 7 days later you just crash? Who knows what you had scheduled for that seventh day? Hmm? What does that do to your relationships when you're not sleeping? You're up all night. One person is up all night. The other person cannot sleep, or the rest of the family cannot sleep. Hmm? Or what about if you're at work and you're having a manic episode because you either didn't have medication, you forgot to take your medication, or you don't want to take medication? What happens? Your coworkers might look at you like, what's wrong with this person? Because that can be very disruptive for people around you. It can be very disruptive. Okay. Another component to manic activation is, for some people, a sense of paranoia where they stop trusting even the people they know and love. Okay, it's a significant false belief. They might become suspicious of other people. They might start thinking other people are plotting against them, that they're out to get them, and they're very convinced of it. So, again, family members might come to believe them. Yeah, you might come to believe it because you love your person and you don't think your person is lying to you. Okay, but what if that's not true and the family members start realizing, well, that's not true? Or what if the family members are the object of their suspicion? Hmm? What if your husband in a manic episode starts to suspect you and you're the one who has to defend yourself? What if your child, who you love, starts telling you, I don't trust you. I don't believe you. I'm not going to any hospital. I'm not taking any medicine. I'm fine. Again, with this right here, the not wanting to take medication is very common. Another reason it is common is, imagine if I experience bipolarity where I have the highs and I have the lows, and I manage to make it up from the lows. And you're telling me when I get up there and I'm feeling so good, like I can conquer the earth, you're telling me go take medication to bring that down a little bit? A lot of people resist. And sometimes, for the sake of peace, family members stop applying the pressure. But then, untreated, it's just going to keep happening. So it becomes especially challenging when it becomes chronic, because it might lead to burnout, even in the person experiencing it. Because if you're going 7 days and not sleeping, you're going to wear your body out. You're also wearing out the rest of the family or people around you. They get tired. You get tired. When we don't get enough sleep, a lot of things suffer. Sometimes we become delusional. For those people who've been moms and dads of babies, right? When your baby was newborn and they couldn't sleep and you couldn't really sleep, sometimes you didn't know what you were doing the next day. So imagine being up for 24 hours and having to drive, being up for 24 hours. And say if you work at an airport and you're in the terminal, right, having to do a job like that after 24 hours. Now imagine times 7 days. Okay? So that is not a time to depend on prayer and to depend on the rubs and the baths and the bush teas. Okay? That's not the time. What you need then is you need some medication support. When people start, there's something called pressured speech that's a part of manic activation, where they're talking very loudly. You could be in a group and they're not, all the rules common to being with other people go out the window when many people are experiencing a manic episode. Okay, so usually we wait for our turn to talk. A person experiencing a manic episode is not going to be able to do that. So they, as whatever's passing through their brain, they're saying it, quickly talking, louder and louder, interrupting people. So again, that those kinds of actions often push people away from the person who is experiencing those symptoms. And that's very, very painful. So, what I'm suggesting is, if you heard any of these symptoms and if they fit you or they fit somebody you know and love, please try your best to get that person to a medical professional, okay? To a psychiatric medical professional. Because I promise you, many people within 24 hours, 48 hours, they're back to a state of balance, back to a state of balance. But I don't want you to just pretend as if it's not happening, it's going to pass. Yeah. Not in 2024 when there's so much support available. Not in 2024. Okay. So I see my little sign doing this. My connection is a little unstable. So I'm going to review those three signs that you need medication and that you don't need to be waiting around and playing. Yeah, you don't need to be, now is not the time for the bush tea. Now is not the time for just the meditation. It's fine to practice meditation. Yeah. And when you're experiencing symptoms like that, that can help. But it's really, in my book, it should help you enough to get to the doctor. First is hyperreligiosity. People with an overwhelming and intense focus on religious or atheistic beliefs that disrupts their daily functioning. They start losing friends, they start losing people around them tell them that's too much. Yeah, or they end up hurting themselves or they hurt other people based on their hyper religiosity. There are many people who will hurt themselves because they think they've sinned and they deserve punishment. Okay, that is too far. That is too far. And that's a clear sign you need medication support. So that means you need to go to a medical professional. Number two, hallucinations. Hallucinations are experiencing things that other people are saying they're not. And they're sense based, right? They're based on your senses. So, sight, visual hallucinations, you're seeing things other people are not seeing. You're watching the same thing and you're seeing a different shape. You're hearing things other people are saying, I'm not hearing that. You're tasting things that don't make sense. Yeah. You're feeling things in your body. It feels as if ants are crawling on your skin, or you're seeing snakes crawling on your skin. Okay. Those are examples of hallucinations. And it is time to go to a medical professional. If you keep smelling your body, like there's a scent on me, there's a nasty, usually it's a negative thing. There's a scent on my body, but nobody else is smelling it. You might want to check. You might want to check that. Okay. The other thing is sometimes it's not a psychiatric problem, There are some physiological problems, other brain problems that can yield those symptoms. Okay, but you need to be checking it with a professional. And the last one is manic activation, manic mania. All right, where people are high energy, they're moving very fast, they're talking very loudly, they're talking very fast. They stop adhering to the rules of polite engagement. Yeah, they might become paranoid. They might think they have special talents. They might think they are special people. They become grandiose. They think, I got this, I can do this, get out of here, stop telling me what to do. They become very irritable. Yeah. When you see that, that's another sign. We need to go to a hospital. We need to go to a medical professional. So that's my offering tonight, y'all. It might not be in your family, it might not be you, but it might be your friend's daughter or your friend's son or your coworker. Okay? And I think we're stronger together. I think it helps when we know more, because when we know better, we do better. So many people could avoid the suffering that they experience. Many people, if we would take advantage of all the capabilities our medical system offers us in 2024. Okay? So that's what I got for you all tonight. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Thursday. Take care of yourselves. Curtis Abraham, happy Thursday. The rest of you, happy Thursday. Share this so somebody might get the information. All right? I hope you have a lovely night. Ne parlez en l'autre fois. If you are not from a French or Creole speaking country or culture, I just said we will talk another time. Peace. 3 times you need medication for your mental health. Do it now. Peace.